What is going on, everyone? And today we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. So I have pretty much a little bit of everything here. We're going to be talking about maintenance, and this is an episode that I wanted to do for a while. So a lot of questions about maintenance for each machine, and I am going to try to address as best as possible the most frequently asked questions about every single machine. Okay, so I have right here on the table, we have a Spektra Halo 2, we have a Spektra Direct 2, we have a Spektra HX. Also, we're going to be talking about Click Ergo, how to maintain the Click Ergo. A lot of people think that the script, there's nothing to do with it, and there's actually a little bit to do with the script that I can actually ensure that your grip is going to function properly throughout the months and years. We're also going to talk a little bit about maintenance for coil machine. The one that I have right here is a Spectra. I'm sorry. This is an FK iron exactor. Okay, so we're going to talk about a little bit of everything. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about cartridges. A couple of things that I've noticed that I want to share with you guys. A couple of tips slash warnings slash we'll get there. So let's begin. Let me see. Am I connected? Yes, we are connected right now. And you guys are supposed to be there, so that's awesome. Okay, so let's get started. The first question that I want to address is Spektra Halo. That is the machine that people seem to have a lot of questions. So we're going to be doing a Q&A, so if you have a question, feel free to type them right here in the chat, and I'll get to them in just a moment. So Spektra Halo 2, a lot of people ask when to lubricate the Spektra Halo. When is a good time to lubricate the Spektra Halo, after how many hours? Now, this answer is going to apply pretty much for every single machine. There's not a specific time of when you would have to service your machine or when you would have to do maintenance on your machine. In fact, there are some machines that require less, close to no maintenance, and some others require a little bit more maintenance. So the Spektra Halo, because it's a piston-driven, a slide-driven mechanism, it requires some lubrication. Now, we're gonna put all this machine aside, and we're gonna talk about the Spektra Halo. Let me just do this really quick. I just wanted to show you guys the bundle. So I have the Spektra Halo right now, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch cameras right here. So the Spektra Halo, like I mentioned before, is a slide machine. So we have this portion right here that reciprocates, right? And this material, it's already a material that has Teflon in its composition. So by nature, this material is slippery, okay? So this means that the machine will not require as often lubrication. For example, if we would have used nylon for the composition of this slider. So because it's a special material that is actually self-lubricated, this machine is going to require very little lubrication. Now, what is little, right? Because the question that I want to address, after how long, after how many hours, and this is going to depend how often you use your machine. This is going to also depend how fast you run your machine, and probably how you treat the machine overall. So I say a rule of thumb is to actually check the slider. If you open the motor, right, like I'm doing it right now, let me switch. If you open the motor and you push the slider and you see that the slider is completely dry from the inside, as you guys can see right there, push it. And then if you pull it out and you see that the slide is completely dry, that may be an indication that the machine may need a little bit of oil. But you may have also another indication that it could be that the machine starts sounding like something is dried inside. So it is not necessarily required for you to lubricate the machine if you see that the machine is a little bit dry here and there. But if you see the machine that is dry on both ends, and also you hear some noise like the machine is kind of like opposing some friction towards the body, then it may be a good time to lubricate the machine. And I am going to cover how to lubricate this machine really quick. But before that, another tip that I want to give you guys about this machine right here is streaming. Yeah, we're streaming. So another tip that I want to give you guys is to always keep a little bit of lubrication around this O-ring right here. Okay, this is the O-ring that gives you the friction for the vise. So put a little bit of ointment there, or put a little bit of oil, every now and then. It's really good to keep this thing a little bit moist so it never gets dry or crack throughout the year. So by lubricating a little bit with either the lubrication that came with a machine or some A&D ointment, you're going to be more That's going to be more than enough to actually keep this thing healthy. What else? Another thing that I tell people to lubricate from time to time is this O-ring right here. So we open the motor, and now we see that we have an O-ring right here. This O-ring is actually the seal O-ring, and this O-ring also will require a little bit of lubrication from time to time, especially if you see that it's dry, like this one right now, because this is a machine that I just built. We are going to put a couple of drops. What I'm doing right now, I'm putting a couple of drops of oil, and you're going to spread it with the fingers. Obviously, we don't want to overdo things, never. Probably if you have the grease or the oil, because this machine may come with grease or oil, it's exactly the same thing. You can put a little bit of grease, or again, you can put a little bit of ointment if you run out of that grease. Now, do not put ointment in the slider, right? Although it may work, I don't know. Never try that. But just do that here, okay? Now, another thing that I tend to do when I, when I tattoo with this machine, well, I mean, when I used to tattoo with this machine very often, because right now my priorities have changed a little bit, but always ensure that the cam is always sitting right in the motor, okay? The screw may come loose from time to time, it had happened before. So we provide you the tool that goes right here. So just ensure that the cam is actually placed properly in the shaft, okay? And make sure it's topping off with a supplement ring that the motor has right there, kind of like that brass looking thing. So make sure it's topping off right there. You don't have to over torque the screw. Be really careful and try to avoid over torquing the screw. I have this key right here. So what I would do is actually I would put a little bit of pressure in either direction and see if it's if it locks in place properly or not. And again, just a little bit of torque there is going to be enough. You never want to over torque the cams. Never, never, never. A little bit of pressure gets you a long, long way. So that would be it. I mean, another thing that you could do if you feel that the knob is a little bit tight, you could also put a drop of oil there in between the threads, and that's going to be enough. Other than that, I mean, there is not much more to do. This is just preventive maintenance on this machine. And of course, to lubricate this machine, I'll show you guys really, really quick. You are going to you open the machine, you put right here. You put a little drop right there. Okay, let me just zoom in a little bit more. All right, there you go. So we're gonna put a little bit of oil right there in this part right here, and a little bit of oil in the other end, okay, of the slider. You see those two rings in between the slot, so the first one and the last one. So you want to put a little bit of oil there, or a dab of grease in there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to stretch the slider, and you're going to cause the slider to actually protrude even more by pushing the armature onwards, and then you're going to put another drop there, or you're going to dab a little bit of that grease in between, and then you're going to do this, all right? Lastly, you're going to put maybe a little bit right here, a dot on every side of the armature, and again, you're going to push the slider in and out. After you have done that, what we're going to do is, boom, power supply, okay? So let me actually zoom out right now, this way. We are going to run the machine for a couple of seconds fast. So we're going to run this machine probably like around 10, 12 volts, something like that. Yeah, something ridiculous, just for a little bit. This is going to ensure that the lubrication is going to spread evenly throughout the machine. And this is basically at a glance how you would take care of this machine. Another thing that you may want to check also from time to time is that this give knob is not over torqued. Okay, never over torqued the give knob. Okay. Other than that, I mean, I think that's it for right now. You may want to open also the chuck. I mean, okay, yes, that's right, because I've seen people actually bring machines for this situation. If you ever take apart this thing, let me just show you. The collet goes like this. The conic part goes inside the machine, not the other way. And I've seen a couple of people send the machine for repairs because they cannot work the vise, and that's just because they have put the thing in the wrong way. So the conic part goes inside the machine, and then you are going to install, you're going to screw in the chuck. Okay, and again, listen, I mean, I've made mistakes like that, so don't feel bad if you make those mistakes. This is why I'm doing these videos. I make I make stupid mistakes on a daily basis, and things that may be obvious to me may not be obvious to you guys, and things that may be obvious to you may not be obvious to me. So this is why I'm pointing at this. And enough with the Spektra Halo. Now let's talk about another machine right here. So I have the Spektra Direct, right? The Spektra Direct is a machine that rarely requires any lubrication. But there are some things that you may want to also take care of this machine and check them from time to time. And again, like every other machine, there's not a specific time. You can do it whenever you want, whenever you feel like. Just give it a check and see if things need a little bit of care. So again, we're gonna pop the motor right here, and we are going to ensure that this O-ring, it's a little bit semi-lubricated, not super dry. Usually when it's very, very dry, the O-ring, it kind of like changes color. It lightens up. It looks kind of like gray. So that's an indication that you may want to dab a little bit of ointment around the O-ring, or you may want to put a little bit of oil. And again, do not overdo that. Okay, this is a Hex Drive Mechanism, so there's no cam attached or anything. It's just a hex, and it's actually pressure fitted there, so there's nothing to check there. One thing that you may want to check with this machine also is that you don't have any play up and down in the stroke console. So you can actually hold it like this, like I'm holding it right now. Really hard to see, right? Holding like this, and ensure that there is no play there. If there is a little bit of play, it may be that you may have to adjust these 3 screws right here. Now, pay attention with this, because if you overdo this, you're gonna cause problems. So all you have to do is you have to, just put a little bit of, turn a little bit, like very, very softly in either direction, and see if you really need to do something. This one, for example, is not going anywhere. That means that the screws are well in place. But if the key would actually spin really easily, really easy, you would have to actually just secure the screw, but do not over torque the screw. The moment you feel that the screw stops, stop right there. Do not overdo it, because then you can actually cause the bearing to be deformed. So that's that. Always check that you have good rotation right here, like I'm doing right now. Okay, that you have good rotation right here. That's an indication to know if you have over torqued it or not. Usually, if you overdo it, this thing is gonna actually start feeling a little bit locked. So that's that. What else? Every time you tattoo, or every couple of times, also dab a little bit of ointment right here in the tensioner, okay? In the rubber piece. There's another video that explains how to change in the event that you break the O-ring, but put a little bit of ointment right there. This is gonna add additional lubrication, so the needle bar is always gonna glide without actually causing a lot of friction or even heat. So it's a good practice to do that. After every tattoo, or if you see that you actually have this O-ring kind of like dry. So do that. And what else? And this is it for this machine. Like I said, there's not much to do and say about this machine. Of course, we have a vise, so you can also lubricate the vise as well, like I mentioned before. The O-ring around the vise, just a little bit, just a tiny bit, okay? And this way you're gonna have like a nice feel when you screw in and screw out the vise. So other than that, there's not a lot more for this machine, because it's basically maintenance free. So it's an elliptical motion type of system, so you're not going to have any other problems right there. Now, moving forward, I have right here the Spektra X, right? So this machine is very similar to the Spektra Halo in many ways. You have a slider, and again, you're going to take the same precautions. You are going to lubricate the motor. We explained that in the other 2 machines, so I'm not going to cover that. How to lubricate this machine is very, very simple. We're going to go back to the view right here. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to apply, this machine comes with oil. So you're going to apply a little drop right here in this slot around the give knob, right here. Let me zoom in again. It's actually better when you can see closer. So right around the give knob, we're gonna apply a drop, and you're gonna smear it like that. Then we may wanna apply another drop right here in the back, and 1 drop in between the bearing and the wall, okay? Either wall, in between the bearing and the wall. Then we're gonna do exactly the same thing that we did with the other Spektra Halo. We're gonna run the machine for about 10, 12 volts, really, really fast. And this is going to ensure that, wow, this sounds really, really good. And this is going to ensure that the lubrication spreads out. And you can see the machine actually ramping up right now, kind of like going faster and faster and faster. That's because probably this machine was not lubricated, because this machine were built actually for the show. So as the machine picks up lubrication, you're gonna hear the piston actually moving faster. Now, do not overdo lubrication. Do not ever do lubrication. After you guys seen, all I've done here is put one or two or three drops, and that's it. Okay, and running the machine really fast is going to cause any excessive oil to actually be spread out all around the slider, and whatever's left is going to be around here, the slider guard, so you can actually clean it after a couple of seconds that you have run the machine. So again, not a lot going on in this machine in terms of lubrication. You may want to lubricate that once in a while, and again, you're gonna determine when that is a good time. Now, I gotta tell you one thing. I mean, lubricating the machine every week is obviously not the right thing to do, and lubricating the machine every year, probably neither. You're gonna have to do it in between, but not so sure that every week, or I say maybe not even every month, maybe once a month or something like that. It all depends, how often you use the machine. If you tattoo 8 hours a day and, you only take a couple of days off during the week, probably you're going to want to lubricate the machine maybe every 20 days or something like that. But again, every machine is different. Everyone tattoos at different speed. And I'm going to get guys to the chat in a little bit, so ask any questions you may have. Now, another thing that I've seen people having questions about the give knob, and some people have overdone the give knob situation. So let me actually come up close and explain to you guys a little bit about the give knob. So the give knob is the same thing. You don't overdo it, right? So you're gonna adjust until you feel that it stops. And a way to know if you had enough is actually pushing the drive bar inwards, by holding it here. I'm sorry, there you go. By holding the slider like this, push the driver, and if you see that there's no more motion, then you have reached the top, okay? So 1.5 turn is gonna give you the full range of give. So right now I have it locked, and if I go 1.5 turn, and of course at the beginning it may be a little bit harder because it's just brand new, but all you have to do is give it a little bit, just a tiny bit to, actually I was doing wrong the other way. There you go. Just a little bit. So you get a little bit of that give. Do not continue, because after a turn and a half, a turn and a quarter, there's no more effect, okay? You have reached the maximum amount of give with 1.5 turn, okay? So there's no need to continue turning and turning and turning. As you guys can see, it's almost the same. So the reason why we did it like this is so you don't have to, play with it so much. A couple of tweaks, it's going to give you a response. It's going to, allow you to go from hard to soft with just a couple of tweaks, like I just did. So that's that. What else? Let me see if I have it here. Let's talk about the drive bar. That's another thing that a lot of people have been sending a couple of emails about. Hey, what happened to my drive bar? I've seen a couple of times where this thing is crooked, right? And yes, this thing is actually, it actually swivels, right? So it swivels, but what happened is that, I don't know how, but some people managed to bend it. I guess that when they install the drive bar, they probably catapult this thing towards the side. So the best way to do is actually put your finger like that, and as you are twisting the other end of the drive bar, you're not going to cause this thing to actually, go towards the edges and maybe potentially bending the thing, but you have to apply so much force to bend this. So, but again, I've seen it. So just put the tip of the finger like that and screw in the tip, and that's it, okay? And again, nothing else over here. Same situation with the stroke console. You may want to check it from time to time if it's loose or not. But again, never over torque the screws. Please do not ever over torque those screws, okay? So that's that. Now, moving forward. Let me take a pause and let me see what's going on here in the chat. Yeah, this is live. Alcohol Dance is asking, wow. Juan Enrique Suarez, I use this machine a lot. I'm expecting my Halo 2 tomorrow. I can't wait. Okay, what else? FK Iron has good motor interoperability. All right, whatever that means. What else? Juan Carlos Estigo. It's asking if this the stroke of the Scion S can fit the Scion regular. Yes, they do fit. However, we don't sell them separately. What else? how to change the stroke. I don't know which machine you're talking about because I actually demonstrated 3. This is Rene Martinez. But again, there are a lot of videos here that explain how to do a lot of things with or the PT. Have a little bit of ointment on the spring like this with a cloth or a paper towel, you know, dab them up and that's it. Also, ensure that when you're sanitizing your machine after every tattoo, if you have gone through the spring, chances are that the spring, it could start rusting right away because those sanitations are very corrosive. So put a little bit of A&D ointment and that's it. You can also try this side, but the side that rusts the most is always this two right here. So that's that. What else? And again, you know, I always back my machines when I tattoo with coil machines, and that's the best way to ensure that your gear is going to be away from any contamination during the procedure. But again, you already should know that. Other than that, oh yeah, really good tip. So another thing that I do is from time to time, I like to clean the surface of the armature bar. So what I would do while the machine is running, I will get it posted. I don't have it posted right here, but I have this. I will get it posted, and as the machine is running, I would actually run the machine and push and pull. And use it posted because you want some sort of tough paper or like a letter paper for a printer. Do not use anything thinner than that because the machine is going to shred it and then you're going to create a bigger problem. So as the machine is running, right? As the machine is running, maybe, I don't know, depending your machine, your coil, but I don't know, maybe 6 volts, 5 volts. Push the armature as it's running and pull the paper, and you're gonna see that you get a lot of residue in the paper, and that's kind of like the buildup from the coil hitting the armature. So that way you can clean that, and of course we don't have to worry about the rear coil because the rear coil should never be touching the rear of the armature bar. So that's that. I mean, it's best practice to maybe check the machine from time to time all around, you know, especially the contact screws. Sometimes this thing can come loose. Well, this one is actually not, almost impossible it comes loose because it has a locking washer, but depending which machine you have, you may want to check that out. I mean, coil machines are very straightforward, guys. I mean, there is very little to do, and if you take good care with this machine, these machines are going to last you years and years and years. In some cases, generations to generations. Why not? So this one right here, and in the event that you're asking which machine this one is, this is a Spektra, I'm sorry, and this is an FK Irons Exactor. So many names that I get confused sometimes. All right, what else, guys? Let me read the chat really quick. All right, so someone is asking in Spanish, ¿Qué voltaje uso la direct? What voltage should I use the direct to? Well, the direct to has a range that can run really low. You can probably start running cartridges with the edge at 3.5 or 4 volts, and then you can bring it up to 11 volts, 12 volts. Now, you can bring it that high, but I think past the 9 volts is excessively high, and you may never want to run the machine that high. So again, just start low and go up and see where you're comfortable. Okay, it's better to be in the lower end than being in the faster end without knowing what you are going to expect from that speed, especially when you're new with a machine, with that particular machine. So always try to start running the machine at a lower voltage. All right, so check also, this is Alfredo Angriano, so check also edge X unscrew to change stroke. It gets loose a bit. Oh yeah, that's a really, really good. Sorry, I cannot see that far. I should be wearing glasses every time I do this. So yeah, that's a good tip, and I'm actually, thank you so much that you mentioned. One thing that you are going to want to do with the EdgeX is actually, Alfredo Anguiano actually referred me to this tip. That's really good, man. Thank you. So we changed the stroke by loosening this screw right here. Okay, see that I spun the machine, I spun the cam with my finger, and boom, this is a screw right there. You see it? So I am actually gonna introduce the Allen key that comes with the machine, and you also want to make sure that that one is locked. Okay, and again, if you have modified the stroke, chances are that can probably come loose if you did not secure properly. If that screw comes loose as the machine is spinning, it can actually lock up and jam your stroke module completely. I've seen it maybe one or twice that people have sent the machine, hey, I don't know what happened with the machine, and that's the only thing that happened. The screw came loose, the machine was spinning and spinning and spinning, where it got to a point where the screw actually was touching the body of the machine. So Alfredo and Guiano, thank you so much for that tip. That's a very, very important tip as well for the ejects. All right, people from Ecuador. Hey, where do you guys are all from? Okay, every day I see people from different countries, new countries. That's awesome, guys. Ecuador, a lot of tattoo artists from Ecuador lately hitting us up really, really hardcore on social media, on email and all that stuff. Guys, I'm doing a lot of these videos as often as I can. Make sure to subscribe right now, right down here. Hit the subscribe button and also punch that bell to get notifications when I'm live. Sometimes, you know, I just feel like in the mood of going live and I go live. There's not a lot of preparation. So, yeah, make sure to subscribe. And Canada. Okay, where you guys are all from tonight? So we have Canada, we have Ecuador. I saw some people from, I think, Argentina there. Okay. Power supply to run the machine, to another machine apart. I found that. Oh, okay. So he, Alfredo Guiano was having that problem. He's saying right here in the chat, and he thought it was the power supply, I guess, and then just found out that it was that tiny screw. And a lot of the time, things that may seem like a big problem, it's just a minor detail. So this is good. This is the reason why it's good to actually keep up with your machine and check it out. You know, make sure to refresh to this video. Because if you do this like from time to time when you have some downtime, if you have some downtime, and if not, just try to find a little bit of downtime to actually take good care of your machine. This way things may not happen at all. All right, so we have people from Korea, we have people from South California, London, Ontario, and people from Arizona. Awesome, guys. Keep them coming. So what else? Grip. All right, so what do we have to do to a grip, right? It's just a grip. Well, there are a couple of things that we can do to this grip to ensure that our grip is going to be working perfectly, okay? So as we're tattooing, I'm actually gonna use Spectra Halo for demonstration right here. As we're tattooing, we're gonna be ratcheting this grip, you know, from left to right, right? We're gonna be twisting the grip, we're gonna be adjusting the throw of the needle, and we're gonna be doing this, right? And as we're doing this, the ratchet system, the ratchet disc, which is, man, I'm really, really proud of this mechanism that we came up with because it's so simple to replace, right? Let me show you the ratchet right here. So we've been using this ratchet mechanism from the very first, and you can see oil there. I'll explain that to you. Since the first RPG Click grip that we ever designed, and it's working so good that it made it to version number 2 of the Click Ergo and also the Spectra Science. So this ratchet, you are always going to want to have a little bit of lubrication on the little balls of the ratchet, especially when you sanitize the grip. You know, when you break the grip apart and you are going to be spraying, the grip. You are going to want to put a little bit of ointment around. You can dab it with your fingers. And again, remember, when I say a little bit, I say just a hint. You don't want to see a blotch, okay? You never want to see a blotch because then it's going to accumulate in your machine and it's not going to be good. So apply a little bit of ointment there, or you can apply a drop of oil from your machines if you have some leftover oils in the three protrusions right here on the ratchet system. And this is going to ensure that when you ratchet, you have some sort of lubrication and it's not just the part grinding against the ratcheting groove. So that's that. Another thing that I like to do too is to actually have a little bit of lubrication in between the threads from time to time. Again, if you're going to be sanitizing the grip, it is a good practice to do that. And you may also want to have a little bit of lubrication around the cartridge receiver part. See, this one is actually oiled up a little bit, and also here in the back. This is going to ensure that your grip parts are moving without friction, and friction is never good in any situation. Okay, well, maybe in some situations, but not in this one. Also, to clean the grip, when you spray the grip, you can use a Q-tip to actually remove any buildup that may be caused by the action of ratcheting and twisting the grip. So you can do that with a Q-tip. And again, clean that. Remember, to build the grip, first, always, we're going to position this part first here in the grip adjuster. This part is called the grip adjuster. Where you're going to position that part there. Then you're going to center it, okay, because it has to be centered. And when it's centered, you may have almost nothing sticking out, okay? So that's that. Then you are going to introduce the grip adjusting part, and you're gonna couple it with the what do you call this part? I forgot. The grip adjuster, the grip guide. This is the grip guide with the grip guide. So you're gonna twist, and that's it. Now, if you're using, let's say, if you're using this grip on a Spektra GX, or you have the dry bar, ensure that you remove the dry bar, because if you have the dry bar, it's going to be really hard, and you may end up cross-threading unintentionally, because the dry bar is going to try to push the cartridge receiver to an off direction. Also, if you have this machine, ensure to remove it from here before you assemble it, because if you have that thing there, you can even bend the dry bar. So we're going to do that, and then we are going to install the dry bar, after that. So in this situation, I'm going to do it like that. Now that I have the grip built, let me just zoom out a little bit. There you go. Now that I have the grip built in, now I can do this, okay? So best practice is to remove the dry bar and prior building the machine, okay? Now I see that there are a bunch of questions. I am going to hop in before we talk about some maintenance for the Scion and address those questions. Let me see. So we got people from Australia. We have more people from El Salvador. Mark T. Tattoo Pyre A. So I have a Direct 2, and I'm noticing a lot of noise with a T-Tech cartridge. Is that common? I'm using the RPG2 disposable grip. Okay. Well, is the noise coming from the cartridge, or is the noise coming from the machine? Okay, if the noise is coming from the cartridge, probably you have to stabilize the dry bar a little bit better. I don't know if you have you have a Spektra Direct 2. So with a Spektra Direct 2, what you're gonna do is you're gonna lower the tensioner to get a little bit more tension, and that should fix the problem. Now, if you have to add a lot of tension, then there may be a problem with the dry bar. The dry bar may be bent, so check the dry bar that is completely straight. Also, make sure that the dry bar doesn't have the tip damage. Maybe it could be, I don't know, maybe you dropped it, or I don't know, something could happen to the tip, or be a little bit porous and then cause friction with the inner part of the grip. So check that out. And also, it could be the cartridge itself. I've noticed that a lot of brands are having more noise problems than before, or at least now that I'm tattooing a little bit more, I'm noticing them more. But I see that from cartridge to cartridge, let's say, from a 5-round liner to a 7 Magnum or a 15 Magnum, the sound is completely different. That tells me that it's not the machine. It's actually the cartridge, how it's configured, how it's built. But again, check that out. Check if it's the cartridge or not. Another thing is, if you don't rinse your pigment often, I noticed that if you get a lot of pigment building up in your cartridge, you may get the pigment actually drying up and causing friction. So as the needle is gliding, because remember, there's no type of lubrication in the actual needle mechanism. It's just the water and plastic against plastic. So as the pigment dries up a little bit, then you can have additional friction. So make sure to rinse often, so that way you can actually avoid that. I am encouraging people that you guys stay away from conventional cartridges. And in the past, I may have said, hey, yes, you know what? Before we didn't use membranes with coil machines, for example. But I've noticed myself that I have a couple of accidents, and I did indeed finally had ink traveling up my cartridge into my machine. So you know what? I don't use cartridges that don't have membranes, and just the simple fact to know that I may be tattooing someone that has something in that cross-contamination going inside my machine is good enough for me not to use cartridges with membrane ever again. And again, like I mentioned before, I've tattooed for so long and never had a problem, maybe a couple of years, until I had a problem. I'm not going to mention the brand. It's a very popular brand. But I did get ink, and I wasn't doing anything that I wasn't supposed to be doing. I actually witnessed ink traveling up, and then I took the cartridge apart, my gloves, and I have to take the machine apart, sanitize it completely. But I noticed that there was a lot of play in the backstem of the cartridge. Basically, there was a lot of room for things to wiggle and for ink to travel up, even if you have a little bit. But when you have more wiggle, you have more turbulence in the cartridge. Therefore, there is greater chances of a vacuum effect to actually shoot up ink inside your machine, your tube. So Because of that, I don't mess with cartridges with no membrane anymore. And again, I'm not going to endorse any brand in particular because there are a lot of brands right now that actually have membrane. So there's no reason why not to choose cartridge with membrane these days. All right, Glenn Lowen is it, if I put the cyan grip in a cup of water and place that in the ultrasonic, is that safe or should I never? No, you should never. And again, I look like I can't even read that. Wow, man, I need to get glasses. Anyway, no, you should never ultrasonic the grip. I tell you what, all the materials, all the grips that are made of aluminum materials, you know, they are not recommended that you autoclave them. In fact, if you ultrasonic wash them, it's very obvious the damage that it does. It's not covered under warranty because we specifically state do not ultrasonic this grip. Ultrasonic is not a form of sterilization. So ultrasonic is a way of cleaning. So there's nothing in this grip that's going to require ultrasonic washing. There's not a lot of ridges and stuff like that. You know, you can use a toothbrush and clean it. So there's nothing that is going to entail for you to ultrasonic something. Back in the days with knurled grips, yes, you would have to ultrasonic them because they were knurled and, you know, you would get a lot of crap in there. But, I mean, this grip is so simple to clean that please do not ultrasonic wash any grip that is made out of aluminum. Ultrasonic washing is only good for stainless steel, period. Okay, so Fernando Mora Caicedo, una pregunta. ¿Cómo se puede identificar las máquinas tuyas si son originales, a.k.a. en Ecuador, ya están a la venta? Okay, so Filippo is asking about how to identify machines, FKR machines, if they're original or not. Okay, Filippo, number one thing to identify a real FK irons or Spektra versus a fake one, number one, go to our website and check if the distributor's listed there. Now, that doesn't mean that if they're not there, the machine is fake, because you may buy the machine from someone else that you know, used machine, or a smaller distributor that buys off another distributor. If you have any doubt, contact us, but the first indication is if you buy a machine cheaper than our website, and it's brand new, 100% of the times, or 99.9% of the times, you will be buying a knockoff. And if the machine is almost half of the price, it's a knockoff, okay? Nobody's gonna let one of this machine part ways for 50% of the price. You can check on eBay. They're still going strong, you know, in price. This machine did not seem to vary that much in its prices, you know, whether if it's a year or 3 years old, the price is always about the same. So always buy from reputable people, man. You know, if you see a supplier saying a lot of junk, you know, this day is really hard to expect suppliers carrying everything, because cartridges are from China, grips are from China, a lot of cables are from China, a lot of the bearings are from China. So, you know, everyone has Chinese part, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there are people that only cater to the knockoffs. And those are the people that you should stay away from. Report them to us, and you can actually send us an email if you have any questions. So that's that. Okay. Yeah, the new Darla grips have serial numbers, and there are a lot of knockoffs of these grips, and people have sent grips for repair. Oh well, we rarely get grips for repair, and when we get them, they're usually knockoffs, and people are being sold the real thing. And you know what? I mean, it's very easy to tell when a grip is a knockoff, especially if the grip costs you $20. You know, these grips are going for $180. So if you bought a grip for $100 or something like that and it's brand new, it's a knockoff. You know, plain simple. You know, our distributors are not going to sell them cheaper to lose money. So a lot of people are copying our products, and they're copying everyone else's products. So support those that support the industry. Okay, now we're going to move to the Spektra Cyan right here. Now, there's very little to do with this machine as well, okay? So this machine does not require lubrication, and, you know, it's very easy to take apart. Every time I grease up my machine, let me just grab a little bit of paper. I got a little bit of oil. I always have trouble with this one because this one is actually harder, because we don't want that motor to turn while you're ratcheting. So this is the reason why. Give me some time here. There you go. Okay, so we have the motor apart on this machine. You can grab paper towel. So yes, indeed, you're gonna have more tension than on all our other machines, so don't be afraid. The best thing is to clamp the motor and this with paper towel. And again, I mentioned that we don't want this to be easy to come off, because we don't want the motor to come off when you are ratcheting. So there's greater tension here than the other machines. Anyway, Just like I mentioned before in this machine, put a little bit of ointment around this portion of the O-ring. This is going to make it even easier to be removed. Okay, so put a little bit of ointment there from time to time, or grease. Now, another thing that you want to ensure that always you have that screw secure. Never over torque it, but neither, keep it loose. So you just want to give a little bit of a twist until it locks. So that's that. You're gonna pop it, okay? And to pop this motor, I've done a lot of videos, but people keep asking. See, if it doesn't fit there, rotate the motor again, actually in and out, and wiggle a little bit until the O-ring meets the body. Once the O-ring meets the body, then put pressure inwards. Don't just spin. Put pressure in this direction, okay? Put pressure in this direction and then spin, okay? Don't just spin and expect it to go in. First, put pressure inwards and then spin. Pressure inwards and then spin. This is going to ensure that the motor gets locked properly. And it's about 1/8 of a turn. It's not that 1/8 and 1/4 of a turn. Let me see. That's about 1/8 of a turn. So it locks really, really quick, but you have to push it in, okay? Because I already had some people ask me, hey, it doesn't go in. And yes, I understand you guys are used to the other motors that go easily, but in this machine, because we are doing this, we don't want the motor to actually come off, okay? So that's the reason why. Now, remember what I mentioned before about the ratchet. You're going to actually do exactly the same thing here. You're going to put a little bit of ointment in the dots, or you can actually, no, yeah, it's better there. And another thing that you're going to do, see these two O-rings right here? You are going to put a little bit of oil or dab a little bit of ointment around the O-rings, and that is going to give you an easier fit of the grip, and the grip is always going to spin really nice. It's also going to avoid these O-rings breaking on you. And if they break, it's because they actually have a lot of friction against the body. So by keeping them lubricated, they're always going to spin nicely. Right here, there's not much to do over here. From time to time, you may want to remove it and maybe clean it like this with your nails. You just leverage it with a nail. Just clean a little bit, clean it here. Now, when you put, you can clean a little bit there as well. And when you pop it in, pop it in and ensure that you're doing it right, because right here you have an hexagonal shape, and the dry pin is also hexagonal. So ensure that it actually fits really nicely, and then push in, okay? And always ensure that you have that plate, okay? You have to have that little wiggle right there. All right, so that O-ring right here can also have a little bit of lubrication. It's actually we lubricate it when we ship the machine. We just put a little drop there, or grease, a tiny bit, especially if you remove it often for sanitation. Just do that and ensure that it's actually in place, okay? You don't want to keep that thing crooked or anything like that, because then you're going to have problems, okay? So once you remove this, if you remove this, ensure that it's actually in place parallel with that plane, and that you have that tiny plate, okay? If that's not happening, do not start the machine, because then the dry pin is going to create conflict when it expels. So that's that there. What else? That's about it, man, with this machine. There's not much going on. I'm not going to go about all the features, because there are a lot of videos about this machine, but just wanted to cover a couple of tips. Another thing that I would recommend is that, because the RCA hides in here, I've seen some people do this, and by doing that, you're only putting the tip of the RCA core, push it all the way in, okay? And even if that requires a little bit of force. Keep this machine away from away from dust. Keep this machine away from liquids. And again, this machine, of course, do not use anything other than a cartridge with membrane, okay? If for any reason you get ink inside the machine, you can send the machine for service, but again, damages because of ink are not covered under warranties, and we said it over and over and over, only use cartridges with membrane, and do not cross-contaminate. And it's also kind of like a hassle for ourselves when, we get a machine full of ink, because, we have to put gloves again, we have to sanitize the machine. And you know what? Let's keep pathogens away from our gear. That's the best advice that I can give you. And use cartridges with membrane. So that's that. All right. Ooh, we have a bunch of questions. So yes, someone is saying that in Latin America there are a lot of knockoffs. Yeah, you know, there are knockoffs everywhere, not only in Latin America. But again, guys, if you want the original thing, go to our website, check our distributors. Our top distributors are listed there. All the ones that buy frequently, they're listed on our website. So shop from them. You know, shop from the legit people that support this industry. All right. Okay, yeah, you can, yeah, someone is saying, hey, yes, for serial numbers. Yes, all our products come with serial numbers, and people also try to knock off the serial numbers as well. So, yeah, that's it. So today I wanted to do this quick video. I mean, it's almost 45 minutes, you know, go all around about all the machines. And again, guys, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, make sure to interact here in the comment below, because I am going to be checking these messages often. The live chat actually goes away once the video archives. So if you have questions and you're watching this video in offline time, make sure to actually type a question, and people are going to be replying, or myself, I'll be replying to you guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. Hit that bell right there so you can get notifications, and I'll see you guys again in another episode of FK Iron Live. Take care. Have a good day.